Good morning or good afternoon to everyone who has been tuned into CCIT. Welcome. If you are here at the moment, it means that you have followed the first one into the introduction. Welcome to CCIT. If you're here, maybe you're one of our customers. With the first video, we spoke about phishing and an introduction to phishing regarding Netflix and what happened to Netflix and 110 million subscribers and how they were at risk regarding a phishing email that has been sent to 110 million subscribers on Netflix regarding their accounts. And what these guys did was they sent an email, and on this email that said that their account was going to be closed or it's going to be taken down if they don't verify their account. And with this email, they were able to hack into a lot of accounts because with that phishing attempt, they basically got a lot of personal information, login details. With that same information, which they could have taken and maybe tried other accounts, maybe banking accounts, maybe who knows what they could have done. But with that introduction, we covered only a small little amount of what phishing really is. So we thought that for a second video, we wanted to speak to you guys more about phishing and what phishing precisely is and what phishing does and what these guys mostly do with phishing attempts. So basically the definition of phishing is it's an attempt to deceive a victim, to gain access to confidential private information or distribute infected files. So a lot of times it won't just be because they want private information or data from you, but they actually want to infect your computer. And what is the reason why they want to do that? What is the reason why they want to go and infect companies out there, big companies, maybe servers, out there in the world? Well, this is the main reason why. Let's say, for instance, you're a big company and you've been in the business for quite a few years, and now all of a sudden you get this phishing email attempt and get sent to one of your employees, maybe at work. Now, one of your employees are not trained and they do not know how a phishing email looks, so they think everything is normal and they click on a link, and before you know it, the whole system is being infected and the network is being attacked by this phishing, by this infected file. So if your antivirus doesn't pick up this infected file and it's quite new, and your firewall doesn't block it, and it does close down your applications, what could happen is it could lock down the whole server, it could lock down the whole computer, asking you as the individual or the employer or the employee to please pay a certain amount of money before they will unlock your data for you. So a lot of these infected files can do a lot of things, like ransomware is one of the biggest malware out there. So what they use is, with this phishing email, they would take that file, infect your system, and it will close down this whole your whole business, maybe the whole server, and it will ask you maybe a certain amount of money, and it won't be a small amount, right? Before they unlock your files, because what they do with these infected files is they actually encrypt your data. They encrypt your information, and you can't get hold of your information, or it could even be worse. They could threaten to delete all of the data that you've been collecting for years, or very important company information that you might need for your business. And a lot of companies do backups on their businesses as well. But if you think about it, they've also got hold of a lot of the information now that you don't want them to be, to have. And there's always many consequences involved. Your server going down, things happening which you can't really let happen because business is going to go down. And with that threat, and what happens is they can make money like that, and they can take it to very dangerous heights and the bad things that you don't want your company to be involved in. So the first thing to know about a phishing email is to look at is the email address. If you are looking at an email, and tell this to the employees as well, users who need it. That's why we're doing this for you guys, for all our customers out there that need the information to learn more about what phishing is and how phishing works. If you're looking at the email, the first thing that you need to look at is the email address. The email address, usually if it comes from a strange email address, not referring to the same company, for example, like we spoke about in the previous video, Netflix. You would see that in Netflix, the Netflix accounts No, hold on. Yes. Okay, so with the Netflix account, basically what happens is you would see most of the times you've got your email address and then they're going to send you a phishing email. And on your Netflix email, you will see something like, for example, let's say it says support at Netflix D or Netflix hyphen .com, right? Or let's say it's Netflix, but it's net with a double T. Um, so a lot of times when an email like that comes to you, the reason why you need to look at the email address is, let's say for instance, you know that Netflix's website, when you go into the Netflix website, the website is netflix.com. That's where you register. That's where you look at all your series, right? But the email address you're receiving is completely different. It's not coming from exactly the same domain. If you don't know what a domain is, basically a domain is like the name of the website. That's the website address. And let's say it's not corresponding to netflix.com, but it's saying netflixd.com, or maybe it's saying net with a double T, netflix.com. That is where the first suspicion is raised. But companies, most of the time, they're using their own domain name. So netflix.com would say support at netflix.com. Then you would know, okay, it's definitely coming from the real Netflix website, and that email is safe, right? But let's say, for instance, it's not coming from that domain. A lot of companies are also using two domains. So they would use another website itself for their emails, which is normal. But how do we know, or most of the time, when the email is correct or not? So first thing you do is look at the email. If the email is different, okay, because most companies use the same domain name, they use the same website address for the emails as well. So it would be support at netflix.com or sales at netflix.com or movies at netflix.com. Doesn't matter what it is. Most companies are going to use that. But if they do not use that, first thing you do is go and look at your website, right? So let's say, for instance, we're going to look at the website. Let's quickly go there. Let's pop over there so I can quickly show you just a quick example of how that works. So here we go. So we've got this now over here. So this is the netflix.com website. You can see here on the left side, we've got netflix.com and browse. So at the moment, we're logged into a Netflix account, right? And so you can have a look. That's the domain there on the left side. You can see, okay, so that's the right domain. And you go back to your email and say, okay, it's different. So then you start looking at the email itself. So you see, okay, well, you know, how does the email look like? What is the message? Do you see any strange spelling errors, something that looks weird? You could maybe reply to the email and see what strange response you get back. Or maybe go to netflix.com and or do a bit of Google research, you know, go into Google and just do some research about, you know, where the actual emails really need to come from. And because a lot of times, if you do just a bit of research, you would see a lot of people telling you about, warning you about these phishing scams and telling you what the correct email addresses are for Netflix, or, you know, what is the correct support. So with that information, you can quickly find out where or where you actually need to be and what is the correct support for Netflix, so that you can find out, is this a phishing scam or is it, you know, is it not a phishing scam? Quite interesting though, if you guys want to know, in 1994, that was one of the first phishing scams that came out in Americans Online. In America Online, where they were actually having a good time, because what happened was this one guy, he usually goes to bed at around 10 p.m. at night, and so he put his phone off, and so his parents actually, his mother got an email on her phone. I think it was on her phone, stating that, you know, he's in accidents or something, and that she needs to pay a certain amount of money for him, and things happen after that, and one thing led after the other. So she knew that her son usually goes to bed at about 10 p.m. So she thought she would rather just go and check in on him, to make sure that everything's fine before, you know, she worries about what she had read on the email. And, you know, many moons later, she came there and she saw everything was fine. So they laughed about it. But just to show you, know, how quickly things can turn around. And that was one of the first, in 1994 to 1995, that was one of the first phishing scams that ever came out. And so early already it's starting. So you can imagine how many scams out there now, in 2020 and this year. at this moment in time. So that's why it's so important to look out for these types of things. It's, if you think about it, it's almost like, let's say you're taking a fishing pole and you're fishing, catching fish. It's the same that the hackers are doing with the fishing. They want you to fall for the bait. They want you to fall for that information so that they can get data from you, so that they can take advantage of you. So one thing that you need to do is just check those things, check the details, read thoroughly through the email. Don't just click on any links. Make sure what the link is about. Do your research. And teach that to your employees. Teach that to the users. Tell them, hey, do some research about this. Do some research about phishing. On the internet you can get everything these days, and just like this video that we're providing to you guys now, that's so important. You can get many other videos and many other information on the internet as well, just by doing a bit of research regarding phishing. So teach your employees that, teach your company that, and teach yourself that, most importantly, and everything will definitely go well. Cheers guys, cheers for now, see you on the next video.